I feel our world leaders are aware of the little season. What motivates to continue the darkness, knowing what the outcome is? Um. Well, I think they have been legitimately deceived into thinking they have a chance, and that in a way they'll get Lucifer will be, or the devil, or whatever you want to call the adversary, will be given his own kingdom at the end of all of this. And what maybe they may actually consider like the lake of fire as a metaphorical symbol for another place, which him and his followers will get to reside. But we don't know. We don't know for sure what it means to be thrown into the lake of fire forever and ever. Is it eternal torment, or is it just forever burnt and gone and disappeared, annihilation? Or could it be that these people have been convinced that no, God's just going to give us our own realm? It's not in God's nature to kill people, you see, or just wipe us out. Would God really do that? No, He will just give us our own place to be left to our own devices. And come with me, and you can be kings in my kingdom. They probably believe something like that. These Luciferian orders, and they're not stupid, but they are in a way kind of blind to their own belief system. Like they legitimately think Lucifer's the good guy. They have a heavy Gnostic tinge going behind them, that the god of this world is evil, and Lucifer, the Lightbringer, came to set us free from it with the knowledge. They actually do believe that, and they probably are under the impression that a revelation is kind of like either a lie or is just something they've probably been told. No, we created that to control the masses and keep them in fear or something. They probably have this weird, I don't know, mental gymnastic view in some way that they think they're going to win, and that's just that's pride. That is hubris and pride. And I know from our perspective, because relatively speaking, we tend to be quite humble and lowly as Christians, and tend not to think we know it all and that we're always going to be wrong. The people in these positions are the world leaders with money and power and rich and fame, and they think they deserve it all, and they're the best people, the elites, and nothing can get past them. So that they're blinded by their own hubris in that sense. So it seems alien to us and stupid. Like, come on, they've got to know, right? It's like they don't want to jeopardize all the stuff they've got, so they'll just keep the permanent blinders on. They'll blind themselves to the truth to keep what they've got. And I guess that's that phrase. It's easier that a camel goes through the eye of a needle than a rich man makes it to heaven, to the kingdom. For this reason, because they tend not to want to let it go and will stay willfully ignorant of the inevitable end of it all, just to keep hold of that earthly power for a little bit longer. But after all, what profits a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? It's frivolous, it's fruitless, it's all vanity, it's pride. We've been told this over and over again. And pride is the ultimate sin. It's the issue. It's the big one. It's pride that caused Lucifer to fall, or the devil to fall. And again, people argue about what the adversary's name actually is. But the rebellion of the angels was due to pride. Maybe the rebellion of mankind, through Cain, and maybe through Adam and Eve, was pride. We know better than God. It's kind of, well, what? I don't care if he's my creator. He gave me free will. I should be able to do what I want. That type of attitude is kind of. So, I've got free will. Of course, I'm going to put my hand on this stove. Who's going to stop me? It's that kind of attitude. It's pride, isn't it? Fundamentally, that causes men to wander into their own lake of fire, I suppose. But there you go. Yeah, I feel like our world leaders, in a way, I think those at the very, 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 very tip of that pyramid of control probably do know what's really going on. And they're probably there with the angels who are like, we know we're doomed. Screw it. If I'm going down, the world's going down. They're going down with me. It's that kind of attitude. Then, obviously, as that pyramid goes down to the next levels, and people know less and less, don't they? They are convinced more and more of a lie or a false view, and maybe the ones just below the people at the peak maybe do believe they're going to win and actually they're going to get something wonderful, and they're disseminating that down to their minions below, but the ones at the peak probably do know the truth. Maybe, yeah, probably, highly likely. The angels certainly know, who are the pinnacle of that rebellion, and sort of the Nephilim, the spirits in the other world. They know where they're going, and they're just trying to convince the rest of humanity to be blind to that truth as well. So it's kind of it's a complex system, isn't it? But I do think the ones at the very, very, very top, humans, probably know. But fundamentally, our enemies aren't human. It's a spiritual war. We're against the principalities and the powers and the angels and the Nephilim offspring in the spirit realm. Fundamentally, that's who we're against. They hate us. They're in lockstep rebellion with Lucifer since the fall, and that they know, they don't care. They literally know the consequences of their actions. They understand. They're exercising their own free will, which they kind of never really should have had, but they're exercising it anyway. And their main agenda literally has always been since the flood: let's utterly corrupt God's creation at every possible turn and step we can. How, by any means necessary, we don't care how we do it. Let's just do it. The first one was, let's get Adam and Eve. Let's whisper in Cain's ear. Let's make him murder his brother. Okay. And then the second step was, let's use Cain's pride and hubris and mix with his daughters and create genetic hybrid monsters that will subjugate and take over all the antediluvian world, and then subject man under our children, our offspring instead. Let's steal humanity's birthright of ownership by being half human, half divine angel giants, these Nephilim. And I think Birthright. I think Timothy Alberino made a book about that one specifically, but that was self-evident to me just looking at it. And I think I write about that in my own book, the first 10 chapters of this, because it's obviously what the agenda was. Just because you can even tell that they all become kings and rulers, even in like non-biblical mythology. In Greek mythology, it seems like all the Olympians were obsessed with raping the wives or the daughters of kings, because they were in positions of leadership. They were positioning their own offspring into legitimate heirships of rulership over humanity, so they have their own legitimate heirs in those kingdoms. They were trying to usurp those positions of authority and power over humanity, and they did it. And that's the second step to corrupt all of mankind. Then when God sent the judgment and all the Nephilim had to kill each other, and the angels had to watch their own children die as they murdered one another. That was the punishment. And then they were bound in chains. The remaining angels who were in rebellion, who didn't mate with women and didn't suffer that consequence, said, right, let's continue with the agenda. What can we do next to utterly corrupt mankind and everything about it? Let's teach them how to do genetic engineering. If we can't make hybrid monsters by sleeping with women anymore, because we've seen the consequence and it's too harsh, let's just teach humanity how to mix themselves with animals instead. And that's what happened just before the flood. And that's where we get all sorts of horrible monsters from. And it's just one step after another to utterly corrupt us, to destroy the image of God at any means necessary. And if it wasn't for Noah being the only one perfect in his generations, we wouldn't be here. God's always doing everything he can to keep us around, but we keep going along with the agenda of the enemy and making things worse. Like we're terrible. We're really bad for it. We can blame the angels as much as we want. All they're doing is facilitating our own lusts and our own pride and hubris and egos to want to make the decision to, let's say, have sex with an angel and give birth to a giant, or, I don't know, mix my DNA with a dog to become a werewolf. Or make me a fish person. That'll save me from that flood, won't it? Now we've got mermaids and marine kingdoms and all sorts of nonsense around today. And it's kind of, okay, so yeah, we're just as much to blame as them. It's all down to pride, hubris, and rebellion. The agenda has always been to corrupt humanity at every lockstep. Jesus came, took away the power, gave it over to us. We now have the power to tread on these serpents easily in his name and his authority. We have the spiritual warfare weaponry available to us now to protect ourselves. So the game's changed a little bit. But the end agenda has always been the same: corrupt God's creation, destroy the image of God within man, do everything we can to make it terrible at every turn and step. And that's why it says quite clearly in Ephesians, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Our real enemy, our real war is spiritual. It's about temptation. What does it really mean? And it's to give in to our pride and make those choices to be as gods ourselves. The next one is probably going to be, we can give you superpowers by, all you have to do is just take this transhumanist upgrade and you could be like a god among men. It's that appeal to pride is the constant barrage of that appeal. That's all it's ever been. That's what the main agenda to control us is. And now we have this whole other mess thrown in there that we're in the final throes here. But it's Gog Magog war next. Satan's gathering an army in his little season, and we are completely deceived. We have no idea who we are, where we are, or when we are. We have no idea. Most of the majority of the Western world now doesn't even believe a god exists. Like, the devil is doing a good job in his little season. I'll say that. We are a dwindling minority, and people are always saying there's revivals here and there, but I don't know. I don't know.